Welcome to Tea Time with Chris, a podcast that celebrates faith, humor, and the power of storytelling. I'm Chris Tomlinson, your host, and I'm thrilled to invite you to join me for engaging conversations with people from all walks of life. Together, we'll sip some tea, or whatever you prefer, and explore life's joys and challenges with a focus on hope, inspiration, and positivity. I'll also share some of my personal stories and some poetry to add a touch of intimacy and creativity to our chats. So join me as we spread love, joy, and laughter with each episode. Welcome to Tea Time with Chris. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Chris Tomlinson. In this episode, I want to talk about something I'm sure we all struggle with at times, and that's waiting on things, or patience. When you go through things and you think, this is it, you want to toss the towel, you throw up the white flag and just put an end to it all. Patience can be such a hard thing to deal with. Some areas of patience I strive in, but in other areas, it drives me crazy. Let's dive in, shall we? When you were a child, do you remember how slow time seemed to pass? Christmas seemed like it took 20 years instead of 1 year. My birthday seemed like I had already aged 5 years before it came. I remember times where I'd be looking forward to going over a friend's house, or they were coming over to mine at a certain time, and it seemed like as I watched the clock, the minute hand began to slow down. An hour seemed like 10. Time is such a huge part of all of our lives. Everything. Time is intertwined into somehow. The layers of sediment on rocky layers develop over time. The rings on a tree you can count to see how old it is. Seasons go by, and times of the month, weather follows along. Sometimes time is all around us. We use it to go about our days and schedules. Workflows and schools depend on it. Not long ago, I was researching online about different things about time, and there's many aspects of time that fascinate me and scare me or confuse me. Time dilation in space is so fascinating yet so incredibly confusing. One of my favorite movies is Interstellar. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's so incredibly good. It can be confusing, but it's so good. So here's a tiny spoiler alert right here, but it doesn't give away anything about the movie, but it's something that happens in the movie. There's a scene where these astronauts arrive on a planet, and it's in a totally different galaxy than ours. One thing, though, on this one planet they go on, every hour is 7 years back on Earth. Can you imagine that? You go somewhere and you're gone for just 1 hour, and when you come back, 7 years has passed. Everyone you know is 7 years older than when you left. The Earth would be in a totally different part of space, and our night sky stars would be aligned differently. Yet, for you, only 1 hour had passed. That would mess with my mind completely. I don't know what I'd do. But to me, that is so incredibly fascinating, but so scary at the same time. Did you know all species on Earth perceive time differently? In other words, the way we experience things, the way things move, sound, and so forth to us humans, is entirely different for all of the species. For instance, dogs perceive time 33% slower than a human does, which is great for them as a hunting species. Their brains, eyes, ears, and everything combined slows things down so they can hunt more efficiently. So when we do our baby voices to our pups, they like it because it sounds so joyful and sweet to them, because it's a lower and slower voice to them, if that makes sense. Which would also explain why your dog gets so excited to see you when you were gone for just 5 minutes. But to them, it was a lot longer. I can remember as a kid how slow time seemed to go for me. I'd sit and wait for a show to come on, or I knew what was going to be for dinner and I just couldn't wait to eat it. Or as I said before, going to spend time with a friend. In the hospital, it always seemed like time went by even slower. I couldn't wait to go home. I couldn't wait for my wounds to heal or my bones to heal so I could move again. As we grow older, we perceive time differently. Time seems to go faster as you age. A lot of it has to do with us having more responsibilities as we grow, so more time is taken up and spent compared to when we were younger. I know waiting can be such a hard thing to deal with. As I said earlier, some areas I strive in patience. When I'm fixing a computer, I can have a ton of patience to solve the issue, but there have been times I couldn't hold out my patience any longer. When teaching something, I'm pretty good at being patient with people as they learn. I'm very patient with my kids as they know they're growing and learning. However, when it comes to big life changes, I'm absolutely horrible at waiting on them. When you look forward to moving into your place and you have to wait for that move-in date, that's complete torture. Or when there's a family vacation planned and it just takes forever to get to that time. Time passing with my kids hurts me the most. Seeing my daughters grow up and it feels like just yesterday they were born. I miss when they were younger, and at the time it seemed like it would be forever before they grew up. And now, my oldest will be 18 in 2024 and graduating high school, and yet I can remember trying to teach her to walk and say dada and use the potty and so much more. I remember as a kid, I couldn't wait to grow up. I just could not wait. I had so many thoughts and high hopes about being an adult. I remember I just could not wait to be able to drive or have a car, or even have a job, because I was looking forward to having these responsibilities, and I just couldn't wait to grow up. Like that, just like my big thing on my mind was I just could not wait to be older and grow up and just get through these times of surgeries and be done with them and just get to a time in my life where I'm able to do things on my own and have more fun. I thought, like all the times we think as a kid that adults have more fun because they have more freedom or whatever it may be. And now I look back and man, I wish I could experience being a kid again. Nostalgia is such a weird thing. It gives me such a sad feeling. It just leaves me feeling so sad. But at the same time, it brings so much joy because I think of some time that has passed and I'm there for a minute and I want to stay there. I don't want it to go. And then all of a sudden you're back where you're at and you're just like, man, I miss that. I miss the excitement that I would get as a kid over the tiniest things. I would get so happy about the littlest things and just look forward to everything. Everything was a new experience to me. Everything was a new adventure, a new exploration, a new learning lesson that I couldn't wait to experience. And then when you get older, it seems like you lose that excitement. Everything just becomes a routine, a schedule, a necessity. You have to do it. It's not like when you were a kid and you had so much time to just enjoy things. I love listening to classic rock music, remembering my dad, and yet I love to imagine what life was like during that time. I often wish I had grown up in the 50s and experienced time from the 50s through the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. I knew what it was like in the mid 80s to now, and yet I still look back and I miss those times. But I think that every generation does that. I think every generation wants to or longs to experience things from their time growing up. I think that's just normal. Sometimes we want time to go back or slow down or even stop, and sometimes we want it to speed up so we can get through something. Sometimes we can get stuck in the past. Sometimes I can sit there and think about a memory and just get lost for long periods of time, just thinking about that time and just wanting to be back to that time. And that can be dangerous sometimes. Like if you're spending so much time dwelling on your past and you just wish you could go back because you just don't like where you're at now, that can be dangerous because It can hinder you from moving forward, from experiencing new things or growing, maturing. It's okay not to forget your past, but it's not okay to stay there. And I know that everyone goes through experiences throughout time and through their past. And a lot of times we're left with trauma. And that could shape who we become throughout time. Things change throughout time. It's a good thing, though. Without time, the seasons wouldn't change. Plants would die off and such. I used to and still sometimes want to go back to my past and relive or redo things. But when I stop and really think about it, the bad things and even the good that have happened in my past, they've helped me grow and become who I am today. There was a time I thought I couldn't raise kids on my own. I didn't think I could cook food for everyone and somehow not mess everything up. But yet, throughout time, I've matured, I've learned, and I've grown. There was many times I wanted to quit. Many times I was so incredibly close to it. Yet, God gave me the strength to keep going. If I had given up long ago, I'd never have children and know what it's like to be a dad. If I had given up, I'd not have my home, my dog, my family and friends I have today. You never know how close you are to something. Just remember that through those times, those long waiting periods, I know they can be rough, but it's also strengthening. Like I said in my previous podcast about when you look at how a diamond forms or when iron is shaped and becomes a sword, it goes through so much to its time. And at the end, it becomes something totally different, something stronger and something more beautiful and vibrant. Another area of waiting or patience and time is when we talk to people or when we meet people. Sometimes when people are hurting and you want to help them, but yet they push you away or they tell you not to help them or they don't want to listen or whatever it may be. Yeah, we have to take that time to realize what they're going through, understand it, to know better on how you could possibly help. Or maybe there is no way you can help, and the best way you can help is to give them space and give them time. And I know sometimes it can be aggravating when you're trying to help someone and they just refuse constantly over and over and over and over and over, no matter how many times you try. They keep refusing, and it can get so aggravating, and you lose your patience with them. Have you ever had a conversation with someone on a topic you knew nothing about, and at the same time, you had zero interest in it at all? You probably wanted the conversation to end, or maybe you wished it never happened. Yet, maybe we could have learned something from that bit of information. Sometimes we can jump to conclusions with people we meet or we see. We lose patience with them when we explain something to them and they want to explain their part of the story or why this certain thing is happening and so on. We get aggravated or annoyed because we see them living differently and we want to be like, hey, and you want to explain something to them. And yet, the thing we have to remember is that everybody's different. The way everybody thinks is going to be different. No one's going to think 100% just like you do. And that's a good thing. We have to know and remember that, though, when we talk to people. Other people haven't gone through what we've gone through, and we haven't gone through what they've gone through. So we don't know how they think, and they don't know how we think, or what we believe, or whatever it may be. So a lot of times people just lose patience with people. They grow angry, and they ignore totally what the other people are saying because the other people are not understanding what they're saying. But if we would just take the time to just pause for a minute, step back and just listen and learn and try to understand what that other person is saying, we may learn something that may help us through something later. Or it might bring that eureka moment. Or maybe it doesn't do anything to us, but yet it helps the other person to just take time, to just listen, to know that someone's trying to understand what you're going through. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do. And we need to realize, like I said before, we don't know how we each think. Because we didn't go through what we've each gone through. So we haven't been molded and shaped into what we've become. So I encourage people to just take the time to listen to someone when they explain something going on in their life or how they live, and it may be completely different to you. But if you can listen and understand better, you may be able to help. Or maybe it's the other way around and they can help you. Through time, there have been many examples of people going through long periods of bad and then coming out on top. During that waiting period of time is your strengthening, your learning and growing time. I take time with everything for things to grow and mature. If you're going through a hard time right now, I hope I can just encourage you to look and find the good in anything and everything around you. And know that during this time, you're becoming something more. Don't give up. There's so much more waiting for you to experience, to learn, to grow, and acquire tools that can help you further along in life. Or even sometimes better yet, you can use those tools to help others during their times of wait. I know it took a long, long time for me to get to where I am today. And I know there are people out there that have had it way worse than me and still have it worse than me. And I'm not here to compare or compete with anybody. I never would do that because every person's experience is unique to them. But I can remember during hard times just being so impatient, wanting it to end. Or even during good times, just wanting that good time to come. I just couldn't wait. And yet it seemed like it took forever. Take time to acknowledge the good in things, the positive things in your life. Like I said in a past episode of this podcast, of trying to find the good in things. Sometimes during time, these long waiting periods of time can be something good. And I know that there are times in our past, and times currently too, that can be bad and outrageously just horrible just going on. Just know you're not alone. You are not alone. And there's so much more to your life than you even know it. Don't give up, like I said. Keep going. You never know how close you are. You just never know. I remember going through all of the pain I went through growing up, through the surgeries and everything involving my burns and healing and having to get work done. I remember just thinking this is horrible. I don't want to go through this, and I want this to be over and just speed through and get this over with. And I can look back now and see how strengthening those times were, how much stronger they made me. And then other times in my life with emotional pain that was so bad that it felt like time was had just stopped, or time was so slow and everything just hurt more than it should have. And yet I can look back today on those times and see my growth. Do that. Do specifically that. Look back and see your growth. And the tiniest step you've made, I do mean the tiniest step, celebrate it. Because every step you make that goes towards growing and maturing you is something that should be honored and celebrated. We do it with kids. When a baby takes their first step and yet they fall right after taking that first step, we still jump up and down, we still get excited and celebrate that this kid just took a little step, but yet they fell. So do that with your growth, experience that you've gone through that have caused you to grow. Use those moments to encourage yourself, pretty much. Like, to show yourself, like, look, you went through this and now it's just so much stronger. And you can use that to help others. And I encourage, that's one of the biggest themes of my podcast I want, is people to just be able to come here for help and have other people's stories shared that can help them. Use these tools that you have acquired over time, through all the bad and through all the good. See how far you've come, and know that during this time of wait, there will be good. You will learn, and you will come out stronger in the end. So as I wrap up the end of this episode of Tea Time with Chris, I want to take this time to thank those of you that have helped me with support for this podcast. Now, as most of you know, I pay for a lot of this stuff, or 100% of this stuff, out of my own pocket, and it can be hard at times because I'm a single dad and I have a job, but I'm not making a lot of money, so I'm having to cut down on things if I want to keep this going. But it does get costly at times, but it's not a high cost, so I'm able to keep up with it. However, as time has been going on, things have been getting harder financially for me, and at one point, I thought I was going to have to shut all this down because I wasn't going to be able to afford it. But some of my viewers and listeners came alongside and helped donate to help support and keep this podcast and the website going. So I would just like to give a little shout out to those who helped. Those who helped this past week, these are a few of them. Denna Gray, I hope I say these names right. Denna Gray, Tara Schlitzer, I hope I said that right, Tara. Forgive me if I didn't. Angela Mangum, Anna Trout, and Ed Aborn. Sorry if I said that wrong, Ed. Hopefully I said all these names right. Thank you guys so much for your support. For those of you who haven't donated, thank you anyways, because you're listening and you're supporting me that way. I get encouraging messages from people and emails and just people telling me how the podcast has encouraged them and for me to keep going, and that helps me a lot. So I thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart for those donations, and for those who might feel led to donate, or for those who feel like they want to help with supporting the podcast and the website of Tea Time with Chris. You can do so by going to the website at www.teatimewchris.com, and on the front page you will see a button that says donate. When you click that, it gives you two options. You can use PayPal or Cash App to donate directly to me, and the money will go directly towards supporting the podcast and the website of Tea Time with Chris. I'm hoping in the future I can actually gift people things that donate. I want to be able to create, custom mugs with Tea Time with Chris logos on it that people can enjoy their beverages as they listen along to the podcast, or t-shirts and stuff. But these are all ideas and plans that will have to come in the future, that I will need help. I will need support from my listeners and viewers. And again, it's not a necessary thing. You don't have to, and you don't need to, and you're not going to miss out on anything with the podcast or the website if you don't donate. But it does help relieve some stress and help keep this going. So with that, I just want to thank those again who have donated, and those who will donate eventually if they feel led to. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Tea Time with Chris. As I said before, I'm Chris Tomlinson. Stay awesome, and God bless. You have just listened to Tea Time with Chris, a podcast filled with hope, faith, joy, love, and occasional laughter. We hope you enjoyed it, and continue to stay up to date with us at teatimewchris.com. God bless.